Hello and welcome to Elsewhere in the Universe number 2 for April 5th, 2025. Welcome back. It's a bit of a milestone week for me. Not just because I've launched my 8th Kickstarter campaign with From Parts Unknown number 3, but I've also backed my 1000th Kickstarter campaign and beyond. When I say I'm part of the community, I mean it. I've read a lot of what's out there. Is all of it perfect? Absolutely not. Fair share could use an extra pass or help from a more experienced hand. But the amount of projects that wouldn't look out of place on the shelf next to Batman or Spider-Man is truly impressive. There's so much talent out there, and I'm thankful for crowdfunding tools like Kickstarter allowing it all to happen. I'm always happy to help folks level up if I can. The better everyone's work gets, the better it is for indie creators across the board. Anytime a new reader tries an indie book, it's a reflection on all of us. We have to put our best foot forward every time, even if it's not our own work. Rising tide and all that. With that said, I'm happy to share some great work I've been seeing elsewhere in the universe. But first, project updates. From Parts Unknown number 3 with a hot start. Before we get started, I just wanted to share the progress on my latest campaign. And it's great news. Day 1 was the best performing day of the series thus far. It's still well behind the likes of Naked Kaiju Woman, but the lack of an NSFW tag certainly holds it back a bit. Allow me to use that as a segue to get into this week's coverage. Elsewhere in the universe, stimulating Substacks. Kevin Laporte and the comics crowd get into exactly how dominant the NSFW space in the comics category has been. I agree with his proposal to have NSFW become its own category on Kickstarter. If anthology and graphic novels warrant their own subcategory, surely NSFW can do the same. Instead, regular projects tend to get crowded out by the glut of NSFW content, which I contribute to with Naked Kaiju Woman, but I digress. I'm so into the Kickstarter world that I sometimes forget that it seems foreign and unstable to some creators. Like John Ward in the Creator Lab address in his latest post on crowdfunding to the retail pathway. I'm always shocked when I go to conventions and talk to creators who have avoided Kickstarter and crowdfunding entirely. From my perspective, if it wasn't for crowdfunding, I wouldn't be able to do this at all. Say what you will about their business strategies, but at least those creators are actually creating their own work. This has been an upsetting week for a number of reasons, but the artist community took a shot to the gut with the AI Ghiblification on socials. Treadmill is routinely one of the best tech skeptics on the web, and this week's entry about this topic is no different. How upsetting this is almost warrants a post in itself from me, but Stephen Moore does a better job of it than I could. This whole endeavor feels like trolling by the AI crowd, who have no respect for anything but their own bottom line. Why followers support this and don't expect the leopard to eat their face is beyond me. If they're willing to try and replace highly skilled and passionate workers, what makes you think they're not coming for you and your menial job? It's sad and tragic. I'll never understand cheering for destruction. This week also saw a piling on of the live-action Snow White and its lack of success in the box office. Matt Goldberg makes the case for why that doesn't necessarily matter to Disney in the long run, indirectly, with his post asking, when should audiences be accountants? He also has a couple of interesting deep dives into how Snow White's failure has been handled by the trades, and how Disney can be pretty ham-fisted in their own right. Maybe it's just my point of view this week, but I believe all these support my thesis that we shouldn't aim to tear down things we enjoy, even if they misstep. That said, sometimes the only right thing to do is to tear things down, even if it's unpopular at the time. Cole Haddon gets into how Hollywood is losing its way as it was once a vessel for social commentary and morality. Or was this always the case, as Charlie Chaplin received pushback when trying to criticize Hitler in The Great Dictator? 5 a.m. Story Talk does an illuminating deep dive into all of it that's well worth a read, and unfortunately feels more poignant than ever. Live and Kickstartin. One of the best ways to comment on our world is through the guise of science fiction. Stephen Katowicz has put together the 3rd anthology of the best Canadian science fiction for this year, and if it's anything like the 2 prior, you're getting your money's worth. I got the privilege of meeting Stephen at the Toronto Indie Authors Conference last year, and I'm excited to see this edition doing so well. Not only did I get to meet Jonathan Hedrick in person at last year's Thought Bubble, but he was also the #1 backer on From Parts Unknown number 3 this campaign. I don't know much about Atticus and the Magic Pillow Fort, but I supported it based on his previous works. Capable, Quicksand, and Caffeinated Hearts stand out as incredibly creative and impressive comics. So I imagine Atticus will be no different. Sticking with the theme of people I've met, I've had the pleasure of chatting with Aaron Roblowski on the Instant Ink comic book podcast as our second guest, but I was a fan of his work well before that. He has a very dark and twisted mind in his writing, and it's very against type with his friendly demeanor in person. We came up with a great page together, and I've enjoyed Ice and Bone and the Enenra series. His latest, Amor Patris, is still available as a late pledge. One of my regrets is not getting to meet the Etherington brothers in person at Thought Bubble. I really enjoy How to Think When You Write, and I've taken a dive into the first set of How to Think When You Draw books as well. We'll see if this gets me back in my cartooning rhythm, and if it does, I'll have a lot more coming this year thanks to the Etherington brothers. Breaking the theme a bit, I've never met David Lucarelli outside of our group chat on Comics Launch. That said, I've been following his Substack, so I didn't miss his companion post for his latest campaign, Dr. Zomba's Ghostly Tales. He's jumping headfirst into this EC revival trend that's taking comics by storm, and this looks to be a solid entry. Prelaunch Rodeo. Not to belabor the people I've met in person theme I've got going this week, but Anthony Ventura is another great one I met in Newmarket at Wayside Comics and Cocktails. Not only did I warn him that he'll be doing a cover commission for me one day soon, but I got the scoop on his latest project, Have Mercy #1, an action and adventure comic. And let me tell you, it's worth a follow. I try not to be jealous of my fellow Canadians, but Matt Ringle is doing great work with all kinds of comics. I'm not only chasing him in the comics realm, but in the Substack rankings too. His latest, Alice #2, The Cyberpunk Adventure Returns, promises to be a great follow-up to the first entry. If you're familiar with indie comics and the Kickstarter landscape, you've come across Devin R. Scott's name before. He was also the editor on Crazy Latte Thing Called Love. Given his talent and experience, Tales from a New World, a sci-fi dystopian anthology, should be some of the best curated comics out there. Speaking of knowing folks that are out in the Kickstarter landscape, Anthony Stokes is one that I'm always chasing in terms of output. He's taking this game seriously, releasing great project after great project. My Girlfriend is a Cyborg Assassin #1 and 2, a cyberpunk noir, is up next, and you know he has the next 5 to 10 projects planned beyond this one. Neither Scott Snyder nor Tom Hardy, yes, that's Tom Hardy, need my help selling anything. Scott helped me flesh out a story for the Teal Comics anthology, The City We Chose, with my entry, El Pescatore, and with a pitch I'm working on now. Consider this me paying it forward. I've read Arcbound, and it's been a real fun ride, so I'm excited to see what's available when Scott Snyder and Tom Hardy's Arcbound Volume 1 Special Edition comes out. Captivating comics. Speaking of Scott Snyder and mainstream comics, the Absolute Universe has been flying off the shelves. Not since the New 52 or Rebirth have I seen so much excitement for superhero comics as a whole. And it's well deserved. Absolute Batman kicked it all off, and in typical Snyder fashion, he gets to the core of Batman while upending everything around him. Of the 3 Absolute comics, this one feels the most like waiting to see who pops up and how they're different from the main line. But it's all done so well. Huge swings being taken here. Absolute Wonder Woman is an interesting one. Her origin has changed, but she feels most like her DC mainline counterpart, if just a bit rougher around the edges. Still, the origin tale and how she's overcome that to become a version of the Wonder Woman we know is very well told. Absolute Superman has the most work cut out for it in my book. I've loved everything with the story taking place on Krypton, and I'm almost saddened the book isn't just set there to begin with. It's such a great take. Superman on Earth feels somehow too removed from the one we know, and yet not intriguing enough to win me over. Yet, this book is very slow burn, so I'm giving it a chance to sell me completely. Magnificent movies. It would be blasphemy to compare Baby Driver to Novocaine, but I got a lot of the same vibes. They're very different in many ways. I'd say Baby Driver remains superior in the ways that they differ, but it's the first time in a long time that I enjoyed a flick that wasn't based off of something I was already familiar with. It shouldn't be such a novel feeling to have an original popcorn flick sweep you off your feet and make you feel something, even if the main protagonist can't. I really enjoyed Novocaine. It's a good night out that doesn't require investment beyond the couple hours you're in the chair. The Last Showgirl got very unlucky this awards season. We'll never know exactly why it was shut out of all the awards. I think I know the answer. The Substance and The Last Showgirl cover a lot of the same ground thematically. It's all about women's place in society, the male gaze, and how they deal with aging. Still, there's room for more than one take on it, and more than one story to be told. This was a great one. Of all the potential Oscar nominations, this one made me feel the most, and yet, it was shut out. Hopefully, time will do this picture justice. Lots of fun stuff these past couple weeks to sink our teeth into. I've been writing my butt off, so I'm finding less and less time to kick back and enjoy all that's out there. It makes it a lot harder to write this post, but it also gives me an excuse to relax here and there. I'll share what's good as I find it. Until next time. Coming up on the Substack. Wednesday, April 9th. How and when to hold back. The importance of letting things bake. And Saturday, April 12th. A paid entry. Up an Udo. The full behind the scenes of creating unlimited Udo. And Wednesday, April 16th. Double fulfillment. Naked Kaiju Woman and Big Smoke Pulp Volume 1. And Saturday, April 19th, we'll have the next edition of Elsewhere in the Universe, number 3. Stimulating Substack, Prelaunch Rodeo, Incredible Indies, Big Time Boob Tube, and Magnificent Movies. With that, I want to thank you for listening. I'll be back on Wednesday with another free post, and I hope to talk to you then. Have a great weekend.